Well, thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody, and a special thank you to my good friend, Adel Al-Jubeir, the Foreign Minister of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. I'm delighted with his partnership, and I'm very grateful to him for hosting a series of discussions here in Jeddah. And as he has just finished relating to all of you, we had a very, very constructive series of discussions. I also want to thank UN Special Envoy Ismail Ol-Sheikh Ahmed. Very grateful to him for his work over these last months, but also for his joining us here today and helping to shape the discussions that we had. I landed less than 24 hours ago, and I have to tell you, it has been busy. It has, however, most importantly, been very productive. Last night, I joined the Foreign Minister for a working dinner with His Royal Highness Crown Prince Mohammed bin Nayef and His Royal Highness Deputy Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. And this morning, I met with His Majesty King Salman. And during these meetings, we had an opportunity to discuss a broad array of the issues that face the region and the issues which are so central to the partnership between the United States and the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. We underscored again and again, frankly, because again and again we found ourselves in agreement on certain approaches. We underscored the close partnership that we are currently engaged in on any number of fronts. This afternoon, Adel and I met with our counterparts from the Gulf Cooperation Council. The UAE, Oman, Kuwait, Qatar, Bahrain, and the United Kingdom joined us, as well as UN Special Envoy Ismail Ahmed. The purpose of our meetings was quite simply to see if together we could find a way to end the violence of Yemen, to end the war, and to address the deeply troubling situation there, which has now not only killed more than 6,500 people to date, but become a humanitarian crisis of enormous magnitude and a growing security threat, and one that everybody agreed. There was no debate about this. If we cannot find a solution to the war that meets the appropriate needs of respecting the sovereignty and the security of Saudi Arabia, while at the same time providing the Houthi, a minority, an opportunity to be part of a government in the future, then things can only go in one direction, and that is worse in Yemen. The restoration of stability to Yemen is vital in order to ease the suffering and to prevent groups like Al-Qaeda and Daesh from taking further advantage of the political and security vacuum and the instability that has been created. It is essential for Yemen, for countries in the region, and for the world community in general to agree on a plan to end the fighting and achieve a lasting peace. The bloodshed, I think most would agree, has simply gone on for too long. It has to stop. And everyone that we met with today, all of the ministers who came here, were in full agreement. There is no military solution. As I made clear in our meetings today, and I want to emphasize this, the United States is committed to the security of Saudi Arabia. We were deeply troubled by the attacks on Saudi territory. We were deeply troubled by the photographs which were shown to me early on by His Royal Highness Mohammed bin Nayef showing missiles that had come from Iran that were being positioned on the Saudi border. And we are deeply concerned about missile attacks that have taken place on border towns. It is basic international law. Every country has a right to a safe and sovereign border, And any violation of that is unacceptable and a violation of international law, and a country has a right to defend itself. The threat additionally posed by the shipment of missiles and other sophisticated weapons into Yemen from Iran extends well beyond Yemen. It is not a threat just to Saudi Arabia. It is a threat to the region, it is a threat to the United States, and it cannot continue. As we have stated previously, we're also extremely concerned by reports of civilian casualties and the destruction of vital infrastructure, no matter who causes it. Strikes that damage or destroy homes, businesses, and hospitals not only exacerbate the suffering of the Yemeni people, but they also undermine attempts to try to resolve peacefully the challenges that the country faces. I did raise this in a number of our meetings, but let me share with you, I know it is a concern fully shared by Foreign Minister Al-Jubeir and by the government of Saudi Arabia. And he has committed, and the government have committed to investigating troubling reports that we've all seen in order to prevent similar tragedies in the future. Now, we all know that the humanitarian situation in Yemen has deteriorated rapidly. And frankly, that just underscores the reasons that we came here today, and it underscores the work that we have to do. The numbers don't begin to capture the true depth of the tragedy, but they are nevertheless staggering. More than 2 million Yemenis are now displaced from their homes. Food shortages have driven prices up 60% since last March, and they have brought the country to the brink of famine. More than 14 million people are facing severe hunger and malnutrition, including 1 in 3 children under the age of 5. Overall, 80% of Yemenis are in need of humanitarian assistance. I have to say that to date, the international response to this crisis has fallen short of filling the gap between the supplies that are available and those that are required. The United States has been the largest donor by far, and today I can announce we will contribute another $189 million in urgently needed aid. We strongly urge other countries in and outside the region to expand their contributions as well. And every party has an obligation to allow the unfettered flow of humanitarian assistance to Yemenis in all parts of the country. That is necessary to save lives, and it is also mandated under international law, and it is the right thing to do. But the surest way to relieve the hardships and the hunger is to stop the fighting, end the war. And we need to return as quickly as possible to a ceasefire that can lead to a permanent end to the conflict. I want to thank the Saudis, who actually contributed very significantly to the efforts in Kuwait, and I thank the Kuwaitis, who pushed very hard for a peaceful political solution to this crisis. And most of us thought that an agreement had been reached with the Houthi. But unfortunately, at the last minute, the Houthi decided otherwise, and so we find ourselves where we are today. We all agreed today, and Saudi Arabia is front and center in wanting to find a real solution, a political solution to this conflict. The United States believes that the UN-led process affords the very best chance for an agreement that will end the violence and address the political disputes that caused this violence. And the United States strongly supports, together with the GCC, that overwhelmingly today backed efforts to support UN Special Envoy Ahmed to get the negotiations back on track and to move forward as rapidly as possible. This morning, 4 of us, the United Kingdom, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, and the United States met to discuss ways to break the impasse in Yemen And I thank all of the participants in that for their extremely constructive dialogue. Together with UN Special Envoy Ismail, we agreed on a renewed approach to negotiations, with both a security and political track simultaneously working in order to provide a comprehensive settlement. The political and security track would be unified into one sequential implementation process. This afternoon, the entire GCC weighed in and agreed unanimously with this new initiative, a comprehensive approach that gives both sides confidence that the other is following through. It prioritizes the rights and the sovereignty of the people of Yemen, and the details will be finalized by the parties themselves in negotiations. That is as it ought to be. The final agreement, however, in broad outline, would include, in the first phase, the swift formation of a new national unity government with power shared among the parties, the withdrawal of forces from Sana'a and other key areas, the transfer of all heavy weapons, including ballistic missiles and launchers, from the Houthis and forces allied with them to a third party. The agreement would require the new unity government to respect the security, the integrity, and the sanctity of international borders, and it would prohibit the deployment of weapons from Yemeni territory that threaten international waterways or the security of Yemen's neighbors. We believe that this is a fair and sensible approach, and we are grateful to Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, and the others who joined here today in fashioning what can only be deemed to be a reasonable approach. And we encourage the Houthi and their allies and any other country involved in this to be supportive of that. Ultimately, it is the parties that will have to finalize the text, and it is the parties who will have to finalize the steps necessary for the Yemeni people to adopt a new constitution, hold free and fair elections, and resume their daily lives under a new democratically elected government. In addition, my counterparts and I also committed to providing future support, economic support, stabilization support, to help meet the urgent humanitarian needs, to stabilize the economy, and to assist in the development and reconstruction. From here, from today, Special Envoy Ahmed will immediately begin a series of consultations with the parties to work out the final details of this approach. And if the parties engage in those details, and if they engage in a legitimate process, that will provide the opportunity for the resumption of the full measure of the ceasefire agreement that was reached on April 10th of the year. Now, today in Jeddah, I think we have re-emphasized, and we are re-emphasizing here now publicly, that this war needs to end, and it needs to end as quickly as possible. But it also needs to end in a way that protects the rights and the sovereignty of Saudi Arabia and of the region, and does not require a compromise on any country's security. For many reasons, we have to do this, but also because we need to focus on the fight against al-Qaeda and also against Daesh. The agreement that we have endorsed today addresses all the parties' concerns. Now, it's never easy, we understand that, but the United States will remain heavily engaged diplomatically, along with our international partners, in order to help ensure that the needs of the region's security are met, and to ensure that the Yemeni people get the humanitarian assistance and ultimately the peace and the security that they need and deserve. So I again thank my Foreign Minister Al-Jubeir, Special Envoy Ahmed, and my counterparts from the United Kingdom and the GCC nations for their partnership and for their commitment to ending this conflict as soon as possible. And I particularly thank my friend Adel for his partnership and his open-minded efforts to try to find a way forward in this endeavor. Thank you.